Okay, let's go back about 1,000 years to Hawaii. Ancient Hawaii called surfing hi'i inalu, which translates into English as wave riding. The ruling class had the best beaches and the best boards, and the commoners were not allowed on the same beaches. So, it's all politics. The chiefs of the village were often picked because they could ride the best waves. So, there was a very cultural divide based on how good of a wave rider you were, basically. Hawaiians would carefully select one of three types of trees in which to construct their board. So they're very obviously this was such a big part of their culture. They actually used to now find certain types of wood that was going to allow a certain amount of buoyancy and ideally maybe even speed or ways to keep it um, controlled. So they had different trees that would give you different purposes. So once selected, the surfer would then dig the tree out and place fish in the hole as an offering to the gods. So selected craftsmen of the community were then hired to shape, stain, and prepare the board for the surfer. So just again, like how serious this was taken, where you were now seeing this as a gift from the gods, that you would offer up a fish as an offering to the gods to allow the tree to grow healthy. Then you would then obviously cut it, craft it, stain it, shape it like a piece of art to create the perfect piece of, the perfect board, which allowed you to go fishing and allowed you to do other things you needed to do as a chief of the village. So that's surfing was taken very, very seriously. It was something very special to their heritage, their cultural value. Hawaiians prayed to the gods for protection and strength to undertake the powerful, mystifying ocean. So this was a way to deal with this giant. I don't know what to call it other than I think it was mysticism. It was seen as something that you could control. In a way, it's like having be able to control lightning, control the power of the universe by this tool. I wouldn't say weapon, but like this tool to harness and control this chaos in a way. So I think that was really what was amazing about this entire culture, the original culture of surfing. It wasn't a sport; it was seen as a way to control the universe, your world. So if the ocean was tamed, frustrated surfers would often call upon the kahuna, the priest, who would aid them in a surfing prayer, asking the gods to deliver great surf. So, so in a way, if the ocean wasn't being able to be tamed, the great Kahuna, right, would come out and actually help tame the ocean to help them have better surf, and thus, allowing it to be more peaceful. So all this was great. All this seemed to be going really, really well for Hawaiian culture and all the people who live there until James Cook. Then the white man came, basically. So Captain James Cook and the European settlers came to the island in 1778 and slowly started to take over the island. The locals killed Cook when he tried to kill their chief, but the villagers were quickly outnumbered and the islanders lost control of the entire place. Then the Europeans started to push their culture onto their way of life and their religion, which was Christian. They didn't like the fact that these surfers, or the culture of surfing at this, or Hawaii really, was just shirtless men and scantily clad women were out roaming the beaches and all that. So they thought it was unchristian-like and it was outlawed. So they outlawed a culture that was happening around them, and because of which they outlawed surfing. So surfing was completely forbidden. For about 150 years, surfing was dead. And if you did manage to catch a wave, you were a rebel, right? So again, kind of in a way to, I guess, all the kind of cultures that we talk about in this class, the majority of them came out of a rebellious act. So surfing now, if you were out there surfing on these waves, you were going against what society had put into place as a thing you did not do, and so you were a rebel. Surfers were. It was a rebellious act. Then in the 1900s, the early 1900s, people started to see the angle of tourism coming to the island and to the sport. Um, Alexander Hume Ford founded the Outrigger Canoe and Surfing Club and started promoting surfing. And as a way to get tourism, as a way to get obviously money into their local economy. And the biggest name to come out of this era of new tourism and surfing culture was Duke Kahanamoku. Duke Kahanamoku. Duke Kahanamoku was called the ambassador of Aloha and was nicknamed the Big Kahuna. So, he was a 5-time Olympic medalist for swimming and really exposed surfing to the world. He was the face of surfing. He had the talent, the personality, and at one point actually saved 8 people from drowning. So he was a hero. On top of everything else, he was just like a legend. He would travel the world giving surfing lessons and giving demos and spreading the gospel of surfing all around the planet. So he's really like the first kind of poster child, if you will, of surfing around the world. He was later memorialized in a 2002 first class stamp of the United States Postal Service. So he got his own stamp. He made surfing popular in America in 1912 when he first visited Southern California. There's actually a restaurant in Malibu called Duke's Today in his honor. And Duke used to also make his own board himself. So this was, another thing that I think basically put him on the map as like the perfect spokesperson for surfing. He could swim, he could surf, and he can construct his own boards. And he had the personality that he could actually walk into crowds and get people excited about surfing in the first place. So he was an all-around perfect spokesperson for the sport, the first big spokesperson for the sport. Here's a little clip about Duke.